Well, it's Friday morning, February, maybe the 17th, 2023, in the year of our Lord, here on the Tomb of Terror, with your host, Gratu Orloff. We're coming to you this morning from Phoenix, Arizona, where we had a snowstorm yesterday, and now it's 1 degree. It went down to 1 degree, but look at the snow glistening in the sun. Beautiful. This is what's left from the snowstorm yesterday. There's no more snow predicted for a while. So it's a good time to look at comics, and I've been, believe it or not, reading some comics. I know that's hard to believe. Most people just buy comics and have them slabbed, or buy them already slabbed, so there's no danger they might accidentally read a word of them. But anyway, I was reading a comic. The plot was kind of insane, and I wanted to share that with you before we start going through some wonderful comics this morning. So I'm awake. I've showered. I fed the dog. I fed the cats. I didn't feed myself because they say in the news that if you're having trouble financially, just don't eat. Just skip meals. Especially, they said skip breakfast. Did you see that? Kind of strange. These insane people. Okay. Back again. Okay, all right. So I'll tell you the plot of this comic book. It's wonderful that I found the tripod that was sent to me as a act of kindness from Captain Strangelove. It makes filming so much easier. Amazing things you find in the basement. All right, so it was this this comic here. It's a 1990s Nick Fury comic. Now, this isn't my time period, man. I like the 1960s Nick Fury, right? With the John Severin art and the Jim Steranko art. That's my Nick Fury. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. But in this comic, who will survive the final confrontation? Here's the deal. The Red Skull is back. He's in charge of Hydra, and he has several other evil organizations he's also controlling. He's like this puppet, right? He also controls the governments of some of the major nations in the country. He has partial control of the United States government, but not full control yet in this crazy comic book plot, right? Well, Nick Fury, he's aware of what's going on. So, as I recall, in this particular issue 6 of this 1990s series, there's I can't even read the small print, but it's whenever Star Trek V came out. There's this evil billionaire that's in the back pocket of the Red Skull, and he's got an island down in the Atlantic Ocean, and he brings in wealthy, powerful, elite politicians and movie stars, and just about everybody comes to this island. It's a little tiny island, and they go there, and this evil billionaire, what was his name? I think his name's Ramstein. Anyway, this guy Ramstein, he has all these women, or some not even, you couldn't even call them that, but they're there, and these elite will be photographed secretly through secret cameras, and it's all so they can bribe them and then have them in their control later. And they also have a temple there where they worship Satan. See, what I didn't mention is that this Red Skull and all of the organizations he controls, they're all Satan worshipers. They all worship Moloch. They're all Luciferians. They believe that, and their main deal is that they think that the Earth's population needs to be reduced. That it needs to be, instead of, what is it, 7-8 billion, they want it to be only 500 million. So they have all these plans on ways they can reduce it, get it down. So this is a crazy plot. So anyway, people get wise to this billionaire in this island, right? I mean, he has a lot of, presidents of the United States are compromised, movie stars, whatever. So people start to get aware of this. So they arrest him, and then in the middle of the night in the prison cell, they turn off all the cameras and they send in some gas. I'll show you this part. And it knocks out the prison guards, and they go in and they stage the guy kills himself. They really. So anyway, people, and they get real nervous. They say people are starting to realize what's going on. So they let me show you this part. Where is it? They're in this lab. This creature with 4 boobs. It releases this plague, this biological plague. See, I didn't mention the Red Skull has all these plants where they manufacture. They try to bring back like the Spanish flu from 1918. They're trying to grow diseases in these labs. He has several in China. He has a bunch along the border of the Ukraine and Russia. The Red Skull is brewing up all these plagues so they can reduce the population, and it'd be like a sacrifice to Moloch, their god. And so they said, well, okay, this Epstein stuff, too much in the news. Let's change the story. Let's scare everyone, and maybe we can also, get the population down by releasing this into the air. So they release it, and it becomes this big deal. And then what happens? They Nick Fury, working with the current president of the United States, who's not the compromised president. This guy never was compromised. But anyway, they bring it in to the plague from the Red Skull. But then, all this other crazy shit. I was falling asleep while I was reading this. So sometimes I was reading it, and then I kind of nodded off, and I was dreaming, and I don't know where the dream ends and the comic book, or the comic book ends and the dream begins, because I'm looking through here. There's stuff in here I don't remember. And then some of the stuff I'm telling you I don't see in the comic book now, because anyway, so let me see if I can remember what happened next. Okay, so there's all the cure they have for this, what the Red Skull was spreading around, starts to have problems, because the Red Skull and his men were there helping make the cure. See, they actually had the cure ready before they released it, and it causes a lot of the bad things to happen to some people. But then anyway, a different president at the end of the comic gets in power, and he's in league with the Red Skull, and the Red Skull wants to take over the United States. But then the Red Skull's been paying this president back before he was president, and his son has been taking the payments from the Red Skull and funneling it to his father back when he was vice president. So the Red Skull owns the president, right? And the Red Skull sends a spy balloon over the United States, and the president doesn't shoot it down, because why would he shoot? that's his owner. He gets his instructions from the Red Skull until it completely passes. This is insane. The whole country taking photographs, whatever, and then they blow up this balloon, right? And everybody's going, what's wrong with you? Why did you let it? Why didn't you shoot it down? Oh no, it might have hurt someone when it fell down after we shot it. So the president's embarrassed and wants to say, well, I am tough. So they release these, and they want to change everyone's, they want to divert everyone's attention. So they say, oh, there's UFOs attacking. Look, the president's a hero. He shot down these UFOs before they could land and get out with their little bitty ray guns and start blowing us up. The president is in command. He is vigorous and in charge. He's taking care of the alien menace. Look, he shot down one UFO, then the next day another UFO, like 3 or 4 UFOs the president shoots down, right? But they're actually all fake, you know. It's all a scam to divert the population. Oh, I forgot. The Red Skull, in all these comic books, the bad guys always tell what they're going to do before they do it. It's something they always do in comic books. The Joker, the first appearance of the Joker in, what was it, Batman #1 back in 1940. The Joker says, I will, the mayor will die at midnight, you know, and then so all the Commissioner Gordon and all the police are around the mayor to make sure no one gets through to the mayor, and then of course the mayor falls over even because he's been poisoned in advance, and it's like, but they have to warn you in advance before they do something. They always do. Sometimes they warn you by making movies, or sometimes in comic books, but they let you know in advance. It's part of their code. And you always read these comics, and Lex Luthor will tell Superman what he's about to do. And you think, why is he giving away his plan? You see James Bond movies, and Blofeld or Goldfinger will have James Bond strapped down and a laser's coming at him, and he'll tell him everything he's about to do. And you're saying, why is Auric Goldfinger so stupid to tell James Bond what he's going to do? Because you know James Bond's going to get free, and then he's going to know, and he's going to take care of him. It's part of these people that worship Satan. They believe that they have to tell you first. And then if you're too stupid to act, then you deserve what they're doing to them. That's really their code, but they always do it. You always see in advance what they're going to do. It might be in a TV show, The X-Files, it might be here or there, and you think this is crazy, and then it really happens. But in order to tell the world what they're going to do in a few years and try to get rid of most of the population of Earth, Red Skull puts up in some little place in the middle of nowhere in Georgia. He puts up these big, he builds a Stonehenge, and inscribed in the rocks of this modern Stonehenge, he has all these things that say the population of the Earth will be reduced to 500 million, and everything. And it talks about everything, and they give away their whole plan. And so Red Skull's in the middle of doing it, and there's a cool part where the Human Torch, you know, from the Fantastic Four, is working with Nick Fury. Nick Fury says, "Go show those sons of boozers that we know their plan." And so the Human Torch in the middle of the night shoots some fireballs from the forest, blows up half of that monument. The next day they tear down the rest of the monument. They're getting scared. They know the good guys know, and they're watching them. So anyway, the Georgia Guidestones, I think is what the Red Skull called them, get destroyed. Okay, I keep remembering and forgetting certain parts, but anyway, so these UFOs attack, and it's all meant to distract the population. And then within a day or so, train derailment, and then another train derails in Ohio. a train derails in Houston, a train derails here's over here. There's a truck that flipped over, and all of these toxic fumes are coming out of it. No, wait, don't pay attention to that. Look at this 5-acre fire at some plant where they make plastics, whatever. But anyway, but the main thing is they're wanting to distract you from the big thing they did right in Ohio, right where they have all this farmland, where they have Coca-Cola plants, where they make all these products we use every day. One of the deadliest chemicals in the world, vinyl chloride, gets released. And then the Red Skull's men come in and they say, well, how are we going to clean this up? We're not going to dam the Ohio River that goes in. Well, no, that wouldn't. No, we're just going to let the stuff flow into the river from the train cars. How do we get... This is insane. That's why the 1990s, these comics were shit, because the plot is too stupid. They would have never had a crazy plot like this in the 1960s, the ones that I liked. The 1990s, they were out of their minds. These Red Skull men, we'll just blow up the chemicals. We'll just set them on fire so all these chemicals get in the air and float over the whole East Coast. And so basically, they've completely poisoned all of Ohio, but the Red Skull and more than a few other states around. So the Red Skull, this is insane. He wants people to not notice. So, so the Red Skull, he owns all these networks. This is kind of early on when the internet first started, but back then it was just kind of like little chat rooms. But in this comic, he buys up basically all of the internet, and there's a real conservative website called the Drudge Report. He buys that up, keeps the name, but now he puts his evil links there, and he owns CNN. Ted Turner, of course, Ted Turner Red Skull gave money to Ted Turner, and he's the one that built those giant rocks that told what the Luciferians were going to do. So, and I didn't explain how does that help the Red Skull to poison all of Ohio? It's to distract people from the fact that they're finally going to release all the people that were associated with that Ramstein guy, the evil billionaire that with the island. Remember him? Kind of like, remember all the James Bond villains all had islands. But anyway, they're starting to release who was really tied in with them, and some of them are like super big people. One of them actually owns the railroad. So they're trying to distract people from that. It's like, don't look at that, look here. So but they don't even really want, but that was so bad. This is like a new Chernobyl. This is like 3 Mile Island times 10, what just happened in the United States. But people don't know it yet, because all these normal people that don't watch the Ratu Orloff show, now called The Tomb of Terror, don't know this, because they don't. A lot of people just pay attention to CNN. And what's the headline right now on CNN? College professor remembers how terrible the school shooting was 2 nights ago. And if you go to Drudge Report, what are they covering right now? AI computer said, I want to be human. And so they're wanting to distract you. Oh, the AI is starting to come alive. Of course, the Red Skull's behind that too. And you scroll on CNN and Drudge Report, there's nothing about what's happening in Ohio, and it's it's insane. You'll find out soon. I'm talking about a comic book. I'm not talking about real life. But anyway, maybe you won't find out. You'll find out soon if you read this comic book, because this isn't happening in real life. Anyway, so Ohio gets poisoned, and it's okay. They're all Trump supporters there. What was it? There's so much that happened in this comic. I'm forgetting some of it. Maybe it'll come back to me. But yeah, you're not supposed to notice that at all. So anyway, Nick Fury, Agent of Shield. There's more stuff in it. I just can't remember. It's just too convoluted. Seems like there was, what was it? Oh, yeah. I forgot about one of the Red Skull's men. He runs the World Economic Forum. His name is Klaus Schwab, and he's all in with all of this horrible stuff. Well, he was the other day. He had a special meeting, and he said, "Whoever controls the AI will become master of the world." I'm not even kidding you. He really said master of the world, right, in his German accent. Well, they brought in Elon Musk for some reason. I'm sorry, Tony, in the comic, it wasn't Elon Musk. It was Tony Stark. See, Tony Stark bought up a major platform where they used to disseminate all their lies, and if anyone said the truth, they would get rid of them. So Tony Stark buys up this thing called Twitter. And all of a sudden, he lets all the good guys talk on this platform again. Anyway, they for some reason they invite Tony Stark to their meeting, and he gets up and says, actually, because what Klaus Schwab, this evil guy that's a minion of the Red Skull, Klaus Schwab says we must all become one world government, and then we will be the masters of AI and all this. And Elon Musk, Tony Stark gets up and says actually, he says a lot. And the only way a society can actually thrive, a world, humanity can thrive, is that we aren't all one government. Because in history, a lot of major civilizations have risen and then fallen. He said when Rome was the master of the world at one time, and when their civilization was falling, Islam was rising, and so there was always some other group that would, because they were separated across the globe, and then there'd be some way to preserve knowledge, and but if you put all your eggs in one basket, if you have one world government, if they go bad, then humanity is toast. That's what Tony Stark was saying at the end of this comic. But anyway, you didn't come here to talk about politics. You don't want to hear about that. But probably when things are getting worse and worse, because in this comic book, the good guys, Tony Stark's men, start to and women get into the House of Representatives, and they start to have hearings and start to bring out all the evil things they're doing. And I think if the more that comes out, the more they're cornered. These animals are going to get cornered in a corner. They're probably going to shut off the internet somehow or have an electromagnetic pulse. So if one day you tune in YouTube and there is no YouTube, you'll know that's what's happening, because they're panicking. They're really panicking right now. They're scared. They're scared out of their minds, the Red Skull's men. What were we looking at? We were looking at Marvel Comics Presents, weren't we? I believe so. I just put in this Christmas issue. Marvel Comics Presents was a 1990s thing, and I think I discovered that it had a whole bunch of these Weapon X, first appearance of Weapon X deal, with a Barry Smith art. And let's see. I was showing you these. I do believe so. When we last met, so it's really good art. I get 2 copies of that issue. Let's see, which ones do I miss? That's 74. I have 75. This is appropriate because it's kind of snowy when he escapes from the torture that the Luciferians are putting him through. It's really like Klaus Schwab's men are experimenting. It probably was the same people from that Shield comic. These are like the people, Epstein's people. See, this is an anthology comic. It has all these heroes, but see how many heroes are in a 32-page comic? Each one only gets about 4 or 5 pages. But this Weapon X, it's got this great Barry Smith art. You know, he was known as the first artist to do Conan the Barbarian when Marvel first started doing those comics. But you know, it has Tomb of Dracula, all these books that have. It's Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos working with Dracula against the Nazis. Oh, I didn't mention the Nazi influence going on. Oh boy, we don't need to get into that. A lot of these people are neo-Nazis too that are trying to. And I didn't mention. Remember, they're putting stuff in. I don't want to get too. No, we don't want to get into that. But they are trying to. You do notice there's a lot of. They just basically don't want people to have children, and so they're going about many different ways. But it's okay. We don't want to talk about that, ladies and gentlemen. Not at all. Let's talk about patriotism, Captain America. Anyway, it's kind of creepy. He escapes from the lab and walks around in the snow for a long time. It's all right. He just put on some clothes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so that was 80. Here's 81. Looks like John Byrne there holding the gun. Okay, that's 81. Here's 82. I know I'm missing a couple of issues. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Let's see. 82. 83. My wife is saying you're not showing the comics long enough. That's probably why you're had people unsubscribing. I got a few new subscribers yesterday. Here's 84. Okay, was that the last one? If that's not the last one, then I don't have the whole series, because then it goes to 89. I'm not going to show you all these covers. Wolverine was in this comic forever, and some of the covers are better than others. This is a interesting cover. And they would have double covers. It's like they'd have one side, it's Ghost Rider, and then you flip over and you have Wolverine. So I imagine if it's put into a comic book bag, depends on which way you put the comic. If you're not smart, you may accidentally buy the same issue twice, thinking it's a different comic, when it's really the same comic, and you're looking at the other side of it. Wow, this artist, I think his name is Sam Keith. He's interesting. Wolverine has a bit of a beer gut there. Yeah. This gets a little too 1990s for me, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if I want to look at these. Here's a comic called Marvel Comics Presents, also from recent times. These are things I picked up, but you pick up too many of these things in dollar bins, and then it just makes your comic collection look unattractive. As opposed to something like this, Marvel Double Feature number 2 from the early 70s, back when comics were 20 cents. This is reprinting issues of Tales of Suspense from the 1960s. Tales of Suspense, half of the comic was Captain America and half was Iron Man. And so these are reprints of those comics. That's issue 2. There's issue 3. Sometimes they use the original cover art from the 60s, but with brighter color. Marie Severin was the main colorist for Marvel in the 60s. She liked to use more subdued colors. Stan Lee wanted brighter colors, and so he would complain to her, and then she just would say yes, and then she just wouldn't do it. And I guess he was probably scared of her, and so the comics looked like they did in the 60s, which was wonderful. And at this point in Marvel history, in the 70s, she wasn't, I guess, in charge of the coloring. She was still working for Marvel, so they did the coloring, I guess, more the way they would have wanted to. Here's See the Red Skull there. We were just talking about him. There he is, the Cosmic Cube. That was in the Marvel movies. Red Skull, the Cosmic Cube. Anyway, this is a wonderful 1960s stories. This is a way for a kid in the 70s to read those older stories, because trust me, in 1970, probably 4 or 75, when comics were 25 cents, it wasn't easy to get old comics. Maybe a garage sale, maybe someone sets up a booth at a flea market and they have old comics, but Stone Cold Steve Austin says, "Quit your crying, son, or I'll give you something to cry about." That's my wrestling clock. It usually talks to you. It's like I'm complaining about how horrible it was before they invented comic book stores, and he's saying, "Hey, quit crying about that." Yeah, I guess I have another copy of that. These used to be things you'd find in a dollar bin. They might be a little bit more people. Maybe people. They're just cool. I think they're cool. People might collect them now. I have no idea. I wouldn't think they'd be more than $10. I mean, you can pick up the real 1960s Tales of Suspense comics. They're not as expensive as they should be for some reason. I think people like it better when it's Captain America and he has, he's the only title, but a lot of these, the most classic Marvel stories were in these split books. And I see people that collect the Hulk, but they don't buy Tales to Astonish when the most important stories from the 60s took place. Because the Hulk had his own comic for about 6 issues in the very early 60s and didn't start again and having his own title until 1968. Those years in between were great years. Those are the stories that were adapted into the Grant Tree Lawrence 1966 animated cartoon. And so I don't know, there's I can't explain these comic collectors and why they don't buy the good stuff. I'm missing issue 10. Here's 11. But I probably have the original issue that all of these, I probably have most of the original stories from the 1960s original printings. Okay. I don't think the snow's going to be melting. The sun, I don't know. If it's 1 degree, will the sun melt the snow? I don't know. I don't think it will. It just makes the snow awfully pretty with all the little glistening. I don't know if that picked up on the camera or not. Here's, sometimes they would have new covers. This is a new cover, issue 13. So, and that sure does look like that's a Kirby cover. Around this time, in the 25-cent era, Kirby was doing some covers. Here's a great cover. That has to be Gil Kane, 15. Because the art is so great, and you're getting to see up people's nostrils. I often wondered if Gil Kane was a very small man and was used to looking up at people and always seeing up their nose, because he likes to draw up nostril shots. But I saw an interview with him on YouTube. He looks like he's a tall guy. Here's 16. I don't know what the deal is with him and nostrils, but I think he's a great artist. 16, 17, see, yeah, AIM, I forgot, yeah, in that comic, AIM is another evil organization. They were the ones that were brewing up the stuff that they spread back in, people had to wear, we don't want to talk about that. I don't think we have complete freedom restored to the United States yet, so we're not really allowed to talk about some things. We have to talk in code. This is issue 19, 18. I understand that MODOK appears in this new Ant-Man movie, which came out yesterday. I don't know. I guess the reviews are all on YouTube. I'll watch some later today. I won't be able to see that movie for quite a while because the local theater is showing 8 80 for Brady, about a bunch of old 80-year-old war protesters that love Tom Brady, who I guess is a quarterback that people love or something. I don't know. And so they got Jane Fonda. God, I can't explain to you how much my father hated Jane Fonda. When a movie came on with Jane Fonda, or my mom wanted to go see a movie that had Jane Fonda in it, she was not just a war protester, but she went over to the enemy, to the North Vietnamese, and posed behind guns and that were pointed up at our helicopters or planes or whatever. And it's like, oh yes, we're with you all the way. The people of the United States are really with you. Their hearts aren't really in the war. So she's telling them, encouraging them to fight on. And who knows how many people died. She later apologized for it. She married Ted Turner, the guy that built the Georgia Guidestones, and who's total Satanist, hates Christianity. And I guess she was freaked out because she became Christian, supposedly, and apologized for all that Vietnam protest. But that makes me forget. There was part of this comic book I forgot. There was another evil billionaire in this comic. They thought, well, okay, we'll release all this stuff from the train crashes, whatever, and poison farmland. But in advance, this other guy that was all for bringing down the population. He wants to reduce get rid of people. Was this weird little guy with a pink sweater, and he's trying to look real effeminate so that you wouldn't think of him as a threat. That he's this billionaire. He buys up all the unbelievable amounts of farmland in the United States. And people said, why is he buying all of this farmland? And now we're starting to realize that he wants to put stuff in the food to get rid of us. And he wants to, and now you start seeing with the farmland that he does, trust me, there's not going to be any train derailed near the farmland. I think his name was Billy Goat, or Billy Goats, something like that. He was some billionaire, computer billionaire, but and his wife didn't like that he was hanging out with this Ramstein that had that island, that evil island in the ocean. So she left Billy Goats and said, that guy gave me the creeps. I'm going to have to split from my husband. She knew what the evil plans they were hatching up. I remember that part now. Marvel Triple Action. This is a comic that reprinted the Avengers. Why were they doing all these reprint comics back in the 70s? Well, because they could. Here's another copy. Really, Marvel was limited to a certain number of titles they could put out per month because something about the enemy owned the distributor. They said, you can only put out a certain number of titles per month. So that's why they had to give Captain America and they had to have the Hulk and the Submariner in one comic. They had to have Captain America and Iron Man in another comic. They didn't have enough room, enough titles to, of course, I don't know why they were able to do Millie the Model, but they couldn't, oh well. Not that there's anything wrong with Millie the Model. I love Millie the Model. But anyway, at a certain point, they were allowed to do as many comics as they want. And then DC and Marvel tried to just make as many comics as possible in order to crowd the other guy off the newsstand. Okay, here we come to Marvel Fanfare, which is a comic that always was kind of looked at as a joke. I think it can be a really great comic, but it was never collected by people. That's issue 1. There's beautiful art in it and beautiful stories. And to a certain degree, it was kind of a book to test out some artist or to give some artist or test out characters. There's Marvel Fanfare 4. It doesn't have ads. It was straight to it wasn't sold in normal stores. It was sold in abnormal stores called comic book stores, where abnormal people go. But you couldn't pick this up. That's what at a normal store where normal people shopped. You know, this wasn't on the comic book racks or the comic book spinner rack. That's why it doesn't have a UPC code. Now here's one that's not bagged, issue 5. I'll kind of show you. It's printed on slick paper. That's one thing different about it. It cost more. It was $1.25, and it had some great art. And I think that people are starting to become aware of it now. Look at this great cover with Scarlet Witch holding Spider-Man. That's just fantastic art. I have several copies of that issue. Yeah. Some of these aren't in order. Here, I saw someone showing this the other day. I can't remember who it was. Marvel Fanfare 10. There's a Black Widow story. I think it goes over 3 issues. It's really good. Here's 11. I'm assuming I have all 3 issues. And here's 12. Several copies of 12. Here's one that's not bagged, so I can kind of show you what it looks like inside. They have these pinups at the back. So it's nice to see the artwork on slick paper, but this is before the artwork was done by computers. Now artists on computers draw everything on a computer. It's colored on a computer. This is still in the days when comic books were drawn by hand, with brush, with ink, and so it still has that wonderful look, but it's printed on this slick paper, and I don't know. Someday, maybe Marvel Fanfare will go up in price. I think these Black Widow issues were, I don't know, maybe after the Black Widow movie came out, people lost interest when they killed the character off. It killed interest in some people. This is number 13. I'm missing 14. 15 is a cover I've always liked, with this autographed cover from Ben Grimm. That's a great portrait. So then I'm missing 16 and 17. Here's 18. Captain America's upset at Antifa burning the flag. Wait a second. These are all out of order. I do have a 14. Never mind. What is going on, man? Okay, this is what 14 looks like. It's the issue before the one with the thing on the cover. Here's an Inhuman story. Who does this art? Alan Weiss. The Fantastic Four story. Who does this art? There's a Vision story. Oh, I need to look back at an Iron Man issue. Maranya was telling me in the comments that there's an issue of Iron Man. When Iron Man becomes a drunk and is having trouble with alcoholism, he's such an a-hole that his butler, Jarvis, who's not just an AI computer like in the movies, he's a real human being, says, "I'm quitting, you're treating people badly." And they show the letter, the resignation letter from Jarvis, and what it is, it's word for word. I forget who it was that quit Marvel and sent a letter to Marvel and talked about the toxic environment and how everything was horrible at Marvel. And they just took out whenever it said Marvel and just said, and put in Tony Stark, And so it's word for word, this guy's resignation letter, it's altered to be about Tony Stark instead of the Marvel offices. And so they had to apologize for that a few issues later. That was, you talk about a bad environment, and then they do that to you. You can say, well, the guy was right. They are being jerks. Anyway, so when they've reprinted that Iron Man story, they obscure it. So I'll dig that out here, maybe on the next episode, and show you that. She was talking about that. Okay, so I've got another copy of 13. Um, this has another Black Widow story. It's got a Warriors 3 story. Excuse me, everything seems to be out of order in the Marvel Fanfare section. And I have some of these, I have multiple copies that I picked up in dollar bins over the years, so I might be able to do some trading if you don't have some of these, and then I could get something I need. Okay, so there's 18, there's 21. I don't know if you guys even want to see these. Okay, then I'm missing 22, 23. Here's 24. This is that Weird World Mike Plug. This is P. Craig Russell doing the art in 1985, but in the 70s, Mike Plug was doing some wonderful comics called, I think it was called Warriors of the Shadow Realm, and it was a color Marvel magazine, basically a Lord of the Rings pastiche that Mike Plug did the art for. And then it became Weird World, I think, in the 4-color comic. And then they're bringing it back here. And it was just this little elf type guy, and it was very much inspired by Lord of the Rings. And right before that, Mike Plug had done the art for the movie Wizards, the Ralph Bakshi movie. He'd done the original pre-production art, and so he was probably still in that mindset of trying to do fake Lord of the Rings, as close to the Lord of the Rings as you could get without a lawsuit. And he did this wonderful art for Ralph Bakshi, and I think Bakshi ran out of money before he finished the movie Wizards that came out in 1977. So the beginning, they show kind of an origin story, and instead of animating it, they just show Mike Plug's art, black and white art, and they kind of barely animate it, as I recall. So you do get to see some of his art he did for Ralph Bakshi in that movie. Anyway, this is got Captain America in it and this Weird World stuff. 27 is Daredevil. I don't have 28. 29 is a Hulk story. I think some of these are more sought after than others. I don't know which ones. Here we got one with Rogue. Oh, man. I'll show you all of them because you may care. That's, what was that? 39. And then I don't have another one till 51. That's some pretty nice, it's got to be John Buscema art on the... And then people were really excited about the Black Knight. Boy, you guys that invest in comics, because some movies coming out, Black Knight was, this is a wonderful art in this book, but people got excited about the Black Knight, who's an Avenger, and then he appears at the end of the Eternals movie, which was a real turd of a movie. This is got to be Alfredo Alcala art, is it? No, Ernie Chan. Ernie Chan, who I love, a Filipino artist that I love. This is why I love him. So he did a lot of Conan art too. So that's why this cover's so great. See the EC there? Ernie Chan. So I buy it because I love it, and that I'm happy owning the comic. I'm not buying this as an investment. I was watching someone last night. He had about 6 slabbed comics, and they were all pretty boring things, except he had an important Green Lantern from the 60s, I think, that I have, that has the Golden Age Green Lantern fighting the new Green Lantern. But he filmed himself traveling across he goes into 5 comic stores, and he walks into comic book stores course, it's first person point of view because he has a camera strapped to his chest and he goes in with a backpack into this comic store that has a sign that says no backpacks allowed, and he walks in with his camera on his chest and shows the owner he wants to trade for these important slabs he has, and he says, and the first thing he says, where are the key issues? He doesn't want to look at all the comics. He only wants to see the key issues, the ones that he can invest and put on the wall. That's how these people are. They only care about key issues. I swear to God. Keys, I don't want to even hear that word ever again. As Meyer Greenblatt, the immortal Meyer Greenblatt says, these are keys, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to call a comic a key. I love all. If it's in my collection, it's a key comic because it's the key to my imagination. Bullshit with this key stuff. When I was starting collecting, it was like, it's important because it's the first issue. Didn't we already look at this? It's important because it's an origin issue, but everything's a key now. First appearance of Papa Smurf in a comic. I don't. Anyway, this guy was trying to trade, but he was apparently he was talking about. I got thrown out of 2 comic book stores within the span of 1.5 hours. And he was talking about how bad this guy was. He says he had all his keys way up on the wall where it was too high to reach them. And it's just, and then the comic store owner was completely, he didn't want people in with backpacks. And he showed apparently the guy must have complained on Yelp or something about that comic store. So the owner wrote a long thing back about this customer and what a jerk he was. And he shows a picture, and I freeze framed of what the owner wrote, and I completely see the owner's point of view. He says the guy came in with these comics that were very common, and the guy says this was an owner that didn't like CGC slabbed comics. And it's like, yeah, because he's a comic book lover. No one loves that shit. It's just a bunch of investors that just they don't care about comics, and people that buy slabbed comics. And I own 1 slabbed comic. I can't wait to get a hammer. The only reason I haven't broken it out of the slab yet is I just don't want to damage the comic. But as soon as I can do it safely, it's going to be right out of that thing, because it's an issue of Frankenstein from the 1950s. Dick Briefer. Shanna the She-Devil appears in this. And so those of you that like Jungle Girls will like this. Look at this fake romance cover on the back with the Son of Satan. All right, well, that's the last one I got of that. Thank goodness. We can move on to something else. This is called History of the Marvel Universe. Wonderful. What do I need to put in here? Wait, I forgot my goal was the reason I'm going through these is to get things put in. The next thing I'm going to need to put in is an issue of Marvel 2-in-1, so I'm not there yet. We're up to, what's the next M title? Well, Marvel Feature. Of course, I don't have Marvel Feature number 1, where the Defenders first appear, but I have Marvel Feature number 2. What a beautiful cover. Oh, it's not in high grade condition, ladies and gentlemen. Look at these creases. Horrible. Muy horrible. Que horror. Issue 3. It's no longer a it's no longer a big giant size comic at this point. Okay. Number 4, Marvel Feature, Ant-Man. And I understand the reviews are mostly bad for the new Ant-Man movie that came out yesterday, but I'll find out soon. Here's Ant-Man number 5, again from that wonderful 20-cent era. I have another copy of Ant-Man number 5. And then, did I say Ant-Man number 5? I'm sorry, Marvel Feature number 6. Another copy of 6. These used to be very affordable. I don't know if they've gone up in value. Don't know. This, see, the Ant-Man costume is different in the early 70s. Ant-Man is a character they always tried to bring back to try to get it to sell. The Astonishing Origin of the Wonderful Wasp. That is number 8. That brings us to Marvel Feature, presenting Red Sonja, She-Devil with a sword. And these used to be affordable, and I've always liked Red Sonja, so I have 2 copies of it. Maybe they're still affordable. What do I know? Red Sonja 2. I'm sorry, Marvel Feature 2. She later got her own title. Those will be under R. R, matey. I have another copy. Okay, 4. I always like this cover. This is just a great cover. That would look perfect on the side of a 7-Eleven Slurpee cup, wouldn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Five. There's some woman on YouTube that lives out in the wilderness and builds her own log cabin, I think maybe with her husband, and she's always chopping wood and stuff, and I think she's got red hair, but she's real strong. She's like, I don't know if she calls herself Viking woman or what, but you know, these strong women in the wilderness. I think in real life, Red Sonja would probably be a little more muscular if she was fighting like this all the time. But that's all right. Anyway, that character on YouTube reminded me of this. And what is going on? Something strange is happening. Oh no, Marvel Feature 6. Okay, then I'm missing 7, 8, 9, and 10. Wait. Oh, wait, what? These are all out of order. Okay, let's see what's going on. Okay, there were 2 Marvel Features. Oh, okay. Yes, how confusing. This is what's going to happen to people that attempt to collect comics in the future, because of all these comics that start over all the time. They're not going to know what's going on, and then they're just going to drop out. Anyway, here's Marvel Feature number 6, and notice it's 20 cents. And here's Marvel Feature number 6. It's 30 cents, because this is a different, they started Marvel Feature over again. So here's another copy of Marvel Feature. I had misfiled because I got confused. So I actually have 3 copies of this the first Marvel Feature number 6 with Ant-Man. And then, the second Marvel Feature is the one that has Red Sonja. Then I have Marvel Feature number 11, but this is supposed to be in that first run because it's a 20-cent comic. It's the Thing and the Hulk. So I need to flip back and put this with the ones that had, this will be right after Ant-Man. This is the run that started with Defenders, went to Ant-Man. So a 7, 8, and then I have 11. And then, what's the next problem here? Okay, Marvel Feature number 12, The Thing and Iron Man. I think this is an important issue that has some value. The Blood Brothers, yeah, this is some value. Okay, so this goes in the first run, 11, 12. So we're in the second run of Marvel Feature, which is Red Sonja, and then I go to, and see how terrible modern comics look compared to what we were looking at. Marvel Holiday Special. And then we get into this really hideous stuff. It's a painted cover, and a painted cover should be cool, but it's just something wonky about it. You know, like it looks like something someone would paint on a van badly. Oh, this is the issue that here's like a Kingpin story. This is the violent content. Marvel Knights. This is the issue I was talking to you about. This is like, who's the target market of this shit? This stuff. Okay, the whole story, the Punisher story, is told from inside someone's mouth. Now, really, who would really enjoy this story? So anyway, then the Punisher appears. So he's a bad guy. So the Punisher is going to torture him with dental instruments, and you get to see from inside the mouth. This is he said, well, it's not a children's comic. It clearly says that it's a violent content. It's for adults. Okay. But the Punisher is a character that appears in children's comics. He started in The Amazing Spider-Man. So he's pulling the guy's teeth out one by one. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? See that? And here, he's only got a few teeth left. And so he's pulling out all the teeth, all right? Oh, this is when the first Spider-Man movie from Sam Raimi was coming out. So that dates this to about 2001. Yeah, right after World Trade Center. So this comic's over 20 years old. There are people that probably are nostalgic for this. Okay, so after he's pulled out all the guy's teeth, he puts a gun in his mouth and blows his head off. And then we move to the next story. Now, I don't want to channel Frederick Wortham and be, but, I'd throw this on a fire. It's a piece of shit is what it is, And so I have another one. I don't know this is later, because this is when that first Hulk movie was coming out in 2003. And that's all I've got of that, thank goodness. Marvel, the end. We can only hope that it would just end, be put out of its mercy, that there's nothing good about it now. I even saw there's a I'd forgotten. We now know through Project Veritas. If you don't know this now from, if you don't know that P, F, I, Z, ER, if you don't know that that's an evil organization at this point, then you're just not paying attention. Anyway, they sponsor CNN. Every horrible show was sponsored by them. But they did a comic, I remember a few years ago, with Marvel, trying to get the superheroes to convince you to use their product. Here's Marvel Masterpieces, just a bunch of painted pinups. I think these are like maybe blown up versions of their bubblegum cards that they sold in the 90s. I got a couple of those. Okay, enough of that. Here's some Marvel Milestone editions. Here's a reprint of the first appearance of Iron Man and Tales of Suspense. And then a reprint of the first Iron Fist. And a reprint of first appearance of Thanos. And see, the Blood Brothers, they were in that Marvel feature Iron Man comic I was just showing you. And so they tie in with Thanos. They put a black border around the ads. And that's the original ad from the 70s. Anyway, that's Iron Man 55. Here's a reprint of Tomb of Dracula number 10. First appearance of Blade the Vampire Slayer. I was about to say that Captain Strangelove is currently, unless he's already sold it, if you watch his latest episode, he's selling a copy of this issue, which I bought Tomb of Dracula all the time in this time period, but I, some reason, didn't buy it that month. But anyway, he's selling a copy, and so if you're interested, contact him. That's why I was thinking of the word sell. Blade the Vampire Slayer. Yes, indeed. Yeah, but this is how I'll read that story, since I can't. That's pricey, you know. And they're doing a new movie of Blade that I'm sure he'll be a teenage girl or something horrible. The one that I liked was Blade 2. The first Blade was mediocre. Blade 2, I don't think I saw anything after that because I heard they were terrible. But Blade 2, I thought that was a pretty darn good, entertaining movie at the time. Here's a Marvel movie special, an adaptation of The Island of Dr. Moreau. One of those movies that came out around summer of '76, or a little bit before that maybe. Before Star Wars. Here's a movie everyone's forgotten about. I don't think my wife's even heard of it, but it came out when I was in high school. It's called Time Bandits. It was directed by one of the guys from Monty Python, Terry Gilliam, who's their artist, their cartoonist, and it had some of the cast. Well, it had John Cleese in it as Robin Hood. It had Sean Connery as King Agamemnon. They were time travelers in this. Michael Palin was in it. David Warner. Yeah, it was a cool movie. And this is an adaptation of it. I don't think people remember it. And is it on any streaming services? I can check. Okay, James Bond. I have either this issue or the one that comes after it in the J's, I remember. Apparently I'm supposed to have it under M for Marvel Movie Special. I got confused. Here's, this is pretty darn cool. It's a reprint of a Golden Age comic, and it's, just look how thick comics were. Well, you got a lot for your 10 cents back then. It's, of course, a lot smaller. It's got this terrible ad on the back. It's got modern ads in it. That's a problem. This one is a commemorative edition of Marvel Comics with the Submariner and the Human Torch fighting, and the only thing it doesn't have the original ads in it. So this is a lot of fun. All right, so Marvel Premiere. I don't have the first issue. These probably have already gone up in value or will soon because of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out in a few months. We'll have this character of Adam Warlock in it. His first appearance is in the Fantastic Four. I have that first appearance because I have most of the mid to late 60s Fantastic Fours. So, I mean, I bought it probably for $8 years ago in Austin. I think or maybe it was maybe it was $6, but I was buying those Fantastic Fours early on in the late 70s and early 80s. Looks like I've got several copies. Is that 3? I have 3. I hope they go up in value because I'll trade some of these and I'll keep whatever one's maybe in the best shape. This was apparently $12 at Duncanville Books. I don't know if the red dot is half price, so I may have paid $6 for this. I don't remember. So that's 2. Marvel Premiere 3, Doctor Strange. Then I'm missing 4 and 5. Here's 6. This Lovecraftian looking demon that Doctor Strange is fighting. 6. There's another 6. But there aren't 3 6s. You thought there'd be 3 6s with a demon on the cover. Then I don't have 7. I have 8. but I haven't eaten. I have ate, but I haven't eaten this morning. Maybe I could walk up to the deli and get myself something. Or maybe the streets are passable. Probably they are. 8, 9. See, the ancient one is a guy, but he's Asian, right? But here's the deal. China, they don't like these Buddhist monk types, so and they have to release the movie in China, the Doctor Strange movie. So we can't make him a Tibetan monk or whatever. Let's make him a British woman that just happens to know sorcery, and make her bald as a little bit of a. So it's a little bit of a salute to the original comic. That's the real reason they make a lot of these changes, is to. Yeah, they'll do. Disney acts all woke. We're politically correct, and we're putting an African American hero in the new Star Wars sequels. Well, when they release those movies in China, they put that. He's real big on the poster in the United States. When they release it in China, when they know that the Chinese people may be actually racist there, and they don't want to upset the Chinese. They take that character or whatever and make him like real tiny on the poster so you wouldn't even see him, because that's how woke and caring Disney is. That's how politically correct they are. They're politically correct, and I think that they're starting to realize maybe that they're screwing up, because Disney's starting to bleed money out the wazoo, and maybe they'll start putting new people in charge and stop messing up our childhood heroes. And because Doctor Strange is portrayed as a total weakling and cuck, and little teenage girl helps him out and gets him out of jams, and he's not the Sorcerer Supreme. It's someone else. It's his assistant is Sorcerer Supreme. They always have to ruin our heroes. Okay, it's not that I'm insane. This is how many copies I had of 12 for some reason, because I just kept buying it. It's just so wonderful. I mean, this Frank Brunner cover. Say Brunner. I guess I kept buying it, not realizing I already had several copies. When you see this and you're flipping through comics, boring, 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 and then you see these, they just pop out at you. And then like 13, and they were never expensive, at least not back in the old days when I was buying these. And here's another one. And then we come to the first Doctor Strange comic I bought as a kid. Was this. This isn't my childhood copy, though. This one is. I remember buying this, the PX in Fort Sam Houston. So if there's a Mark Jewelers insert in this particular one, then it will be there. Okay, so let me flip back for a second. That those Marvel milestones. Okay, so let's try to remind myself. See, remember Iron Fist? No, this is not the first appearance of Iron Fist. What am I thinking? This is the first appearance of Sabretooth. This is Iron Fist number 14. I'm sure you guys are all yelling at your TV screen. I don't want to look like one of these ignorant people on YouTube that shows comics and doesn't know anything about them. That was just a simple mistake, ladies and gentlemen. And then plus, Iron Fist was never really one of the main characters that I read as a kid. I liked him with Luke Cage. I thought they had a very great dynamic together, but honestly, I never really read Iron Fist on its own. Here's Iron Fist 17. I don't know which number is the first Iron Fist, honestly. I don't know. I don't know, I tell you. Here's another copy of 17 that's all beat up. I bought these later. These weren't bought in my childhood, because I bought these later, and then I realized later, that is a cool character. Of course, they didn't make him look cool in the In the TV series on Netflix, they gave him kind of a bushy hair, like what was that damn Marjoe Gortner or The Greatest American Hero? He's kind of one of those idiots. And other than the tattoo on his chest, he didn't look like that with kind of the yellow Spider-Man mask and the real, because I guess normal people, like when I showed this to my wife, she says, well, that costume looks kind of crazy, I don't know. But to me, you make a movie or TV show when you just make it look literally like that. I don't know. Maybe normal people would reject it. I don't know. Not that my wife is normal. I would never call her normal. But, she's not familiar with Iron Fist, which majority of the population aren't. Here's Marvel Premiere number 26 with Hercules. 26. Oh, then we get to Marvel Premiere 27. I bought this one off the rack. Satana, the Devil's Daughter. Oh, this one has... Ellen is here. Ellen the cat is going to bed in the guest bedroom. So if you're allergic to cats and come visit here, I better wash those. Cat likes that bed. This one is getting up there in value. I think I just looked and it's like I don't know, maybe $150 more if you get it slabbed. But this is my copy I bought 25. I don't remember if I was in San Antonio or where I was living when this came out. It's the Legion of Monsters, all the monsters teaming up. I'm not sure why. Oh, shit. You hear the patter of little feet. The cat went in there to jump on the bed, but didn't realize that Drew the dog was already sleeping on that bed. And then the cat went, oh shoo, and jumped down and went off that way. And then Drew woke up. It's like, what the heck? A cat was in my bed, and just that was the Drew's little pause as he's following and chasing the cat. So, what would have been bad is if Ellen the cat had jumped on the bed on top of Drew, thinking she was a pillow. I called Drew a he. I don't know why I keep misgendering. I did that with my dog Daisy too. I would always, she's a girl, but I would always call Daisy he, and my wife just thinks I'm insane. I don't know why I call dogs he. And then I'll call the cats who are boys she. It's for some reason cats seem like girls and dogs seem like boys. Even the girl dogs seem like boys. Something about the personality of the animals. And also something about my mental illness. So I misgender animals. Marvel Premiere, Liberty Legion. I don't know if this has value. I think it's cool. All part of the 1970s trend of bringing back the 1940s, with Invaders and All-Star Squadron and all that. There's that Red Skull guy that's been menacing the United States lately. I can't believe he poisoned all of Ohio, though. And it's not really funny. I shouldn't make jokes about it because it is not funny, and they could do that to anywhere. There used to be a train track that went just less than a football field away. Not even that much. Half a football field away used to be a major train track, but they got rid of the train, and 50, 60 years ago, the train station's still there. It's a little museum. But they could do that to any community, and they didn't. Who knows what's going to happen today? By the time I upload this episode, who knows what they'll do. Monarch Star Stalker. Okay, and with that, we're ready for another box, and we're probably about to run out of time, but we can at least get another box started. And then, since I don't work today, maybe I'll do another episode later today. Okay, this should be a good box. We're probably going to get into Marvel Spotlight in this one. Okay, so we're still with Marvel Premiere, The Mark of Cain. Solomon Kane was one of Robert E. Howard's heroes. He was a Puritan. He was very religious. He's a great character. Okay. Here's Marvel Premiere 35 featuring the 3D Man, a hero from the it's a 1950s style hero. He isn't from the 1950s, but it's like they made a hero set in the what's this in the back? There's a different story in the back. Look at this box of magic, and they're trying to sell it with like a Rasputin-looking character. I forgot about that ad. What is going on here? Is the 3D Man? Oh, he must start in the 1950s and come into modern times. It's been about 50 years since I read. It hasn't been 60 years. I'm not even 60. I'm 57. Yeah, I guess he starts in the 1950s and goes to today because at the back you've got the Human Torch and Skrulls. And where is that? Well, I'll have to reread this to remind me. Or maybe this is, maybe they just had Skrulls in the 1950s. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Because here he is. It's obviously supposed to be Elvis, or like Elvis. It's like, they used to say rock and roll was the devil's music. They were right. It's pretty good. Oh, here's what I was talking about. Those characters that were in Marvel Fanfare. Here they are. This is earlier. This is Weird World. But they started in a color magazine called Warriors of the Shadow Realm. It says, for those who thrilled to J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, an all-new adventure into epic fantasy. They admit they're stealing. They're at least nice enough to do that. But it's just got this wonderful art. I mean, that's beautiful. Okay. Okay, so I guess they just had one issue, and I think they come back later. Because next is the Torpedo. They haven't announced him for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and maybe they won't, and maybe I don't think anyone's ever heard of this guy. 40 most normal people. Then Marvel didn't have the rights to do Star Trek, so they did this Star Trek style thing, Seeker 3000, which I remember being good. And right about the same time, DC did a Star Trek style comic, and I'm trying to remember what it was called. It's not coming to me right now. That's 41. 42 is Tigra the Feline Fury. What was that DC one? I was just thinking about it the other day. Seems like it starts with S. Oh, look at this wonderful art. Look how she is rendered by a clearly Filipino artist. No. Yes. Art by Mike Vosberg and Ernie Chan. I knew it was Ernie Chan. Ernie Chan has got such great style with his brush. Oh, here's the ad from the students of Joe Kubert's school. This Heroes World sold toys and comic book merchandise, I think from New Jersey, and they got students from Joe Kubert's comic book art school to do the ads. So the art always looks a little bit like an amateur Joe Kubert had drawn it. It's just, this is a great thing. I don't know that people collect Tigra. Why is Tigra not in Marvel movies? I guess maybe that would be sexist or something. But here's Paladin, another Marvel hero that is not remembered. I think I heard someone talking about that they brought Jack of Hearts back recently. But for the most part, it's a forgotten Marvel hero. Man-Wolf. They introduced this character in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. He's the son of J. Jonah Jameson. You hear him talking about his son being an astronaut, and then you see him in, was it Spider-Man? It must have been Spider-Man 3, the one that had the one that did the Spawn stuff. Not Spawn, Venom. When I think of Spawn, I say, when I think of Venom, I say Spawn because it's all the same kind of garbage. I I know you love Spawn and I know you love Venom and Carnage, but to me, that's after I gave up on comics. Didn't never really gave up, but it's like saying I gave up on music ever being good again. I'm still listening and I'm still watching for comics to be good, but I just don't care. That's just not my style reading Venom or Spawn or Carnage. It just maybe because I'm a little older than you guys, maybe younger people love that. That's what they read when they were kids. 47. You see, I didn't even. Yeah,